Brakta Yahweh, Brakta Yahweh Shai, Brakta Yahweh, Brakta Yahweh Shai, Brakta Yahweh, Brakta Yahweh Shai. All praise to Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. I'm doing this video on the topic of dreadlocks because there's a lot of Israelites that come into this truth and they have dreads and they think that it's okay to have locks because it said that Solomon had locks and that Ezekiel was picked up by his locks. But they're reading the words as if they're taking it for face value. You know, these scriptures, they were written in a different language, so therefore we have to get the original language it was written in the original meaning of these words. So I'm just going to go through these 4 precepts to bring out the understanding on how dreadlocks are our heathen custom. Our Israel, we never had dreadlocks. We never wore dead hair on our head. Alright, so I'm just going to go to it. It's Numbers 6 and 5. This is vow of the Nazarite. It says, all the days of the vow of his separation there shall no razor come upon his head until the days be fulfilled in that which he separateth himself unto the Lord. He shall be holy and shall let the locks of the hair of his head grow. Alright, so you see here it says he shall let the locks of the hair of his head grow. The word for locks there is parai, alright, and it means long hair. And you can't, when you look up a definition in the word in which you're looking up is used in the definition, you have to take that word out, because how are you going to explain somebody the definition of a word with the word? You still haven't explained the word. Alright, so this has to be excluded, and this is where the real truth of it is. Hair, long hair, leader. Alright, so when you read this scripture, alright, when you read this scripture, it says, in all the days of the vow of his separation there shall no razor come upon his head until the days be fulfilled in the which he separateth himself from the Lord Yahweh. He shall be holy, and he shall let the long hairs of the hair of his head grow. Alright, meaning his hair is supposed to grow. You know, the roots are supposed to grow. His hang time, and what you're gonna see is that when it says long hair, it's not talking about a long ponytail. Alright, it's talking about something else. So let's move on to Judges 16 and 13 with Samson. It says, and Delilah said unto Samson, hitherto thou hast mocked me and told me lies. Tell me wherewith thou mightest be bound. And he said unto her, if thou weavest the 7 locks of my head with the web. Alright, so Samson told Delilah that basically if he can be weakened if his locks were cut off. But what are these locks talking about? Alright, because this is not parai. Alright, this Hebrew word is machalapa. Alright, this Hebrew word for locks is machalapa. Alright, this Hebrew word is machalapa. Let me just scroll down. Salaki, the computer's moving a little slow. Alright, machalapa. And what Samson had, he had braids. Alright, he had plaits. Alright, he either had braids or plaits. Braids is like cornrows. You know, you see how Jake has cornrows, or Jake will have plaits. Alright, so if you cut his braids or his plaits, alright, because when you weave and you that's another reason why a lock is here. When you cornrow, you literally lock the hair together. Like they got so-called overhand, and you got underhand. Alright, and those are the different type of braids, or the way you can lock hair or plait hair. Alright, and that's how you know Esau, he makes it seem like we had locks. See, look at this, man. It's Satan, man. He's trying to trick you with these definitions. Alright, the word is machalapa, and it's talking about braids or plaits. How do we know it's talking about that? Because when you go to Ezekiel 8 and 3, it says, and he put forth the form of a hand and took me by my lock of mine head, and the Spirit lifted me up between the earth and the heaven, and brought me into the vision of the Most High to Jerusalem, to the door of the inner gate that looketh toward the north, where was the seat of the image of jealousy, which provoketh to jealousy. Now, when it says that he took him by his lock here, All right, this word for lock is tazayat tazayatazath. Salakia. Tazayatazath. Khan. Yeah, tazayatazath. All right, and these are almost synonymous. This is talking about what Jake calls hang time. You know, when you get your hair cornrowed and you got hair hanging in the back after it's being cornrowed, that's what he took Ezekiel by. All right, it says fringe, tassel. How come it keeps saying lock? And see, if all these are three different words, but you still have the same word lock in here. That's how you know they have to be different definitions. All right, so this one is taza ya tazath, which means fringe or lock. When you have a fringe, if you look at fringes, they hang. Fringes hang. All right, they hang at the end of a garment. They hang at the end. Say if you have a bookmark, all right, you have a tassel. You have one solid tassel, you know. I mean, one solid bookmark, and then you have the tassel that hangs. All right, so this is taught when Machalapa, this was talking about his braids or plaits. All right, now if you were to reference the extra so-called hang time on his hair, if he was talking about that, then he would have used this word, tazaya tazaf, which means tassel, or the extra hair. All right, and when you're talking about the long hairs, when the hair is a little longer, you use parai. All right, you use this word here, parai. Okay. Now the last scripture I want to get is 1 Corinthians 11 and 14, which is probably self-explanatory. It says, "Do not even nature itself teach you that if a man have long hair, it is a shame unto him?" So, I mean, that's pretty much it, you know. And another point I wanted to stress was, and I'll put the precept up, Absalom, when Absalom was riding on his mule, all right, and he got caught in the tree, if he had to have an afro to get caught in that tree, he couldn't have had long locks and a ponytail, because locks, they go down your back. How you gonna get caught in a tree if your hair is going down your back? All right, he must have had a big afro. Okay. And in Songs of Solomon, where it talks about locks, all right, that's also talking about braids or plaits. All right, when it says that they were bushy, all right, because you know how cornrows get after a couple weeks, or a couple days, depending on how they done. They get bushy, they get messy. That's what those locks are talking about. It's talking about tazayat tazath, machalapa, or parai. All right, and another reason I want to make this video is because these cats, Fopi, they got these locks, these heathenistic dead hair on their head. All right, because your hair is made up of skin cells. All right, and depending on how much calcium you have in your skin, in your body, that's how strong your hair grows. Now, if your hair is growing out, the calcium dies off if you start weaving it up and it's not getting air and it's all tangled together. That's why if you have your cornrows in for too long, your hair will start breaking off and your roots will start coming up. Why? Because the hair dies off as it gets longer if you don't take care of it. Which those locks, you can't comb through those locks. That's why they're called dread locks. All right, they're dreadful. All right, it's a custom of the heathen. And in post production, I'm gonna put up some pictures, so you can see those locks. Because me myself, I actually used to have them. I used to have locks down past my shoulders, and no matter how much you wash them, I came to find out once I finally cut them, coming into the truth, they were all filthy on the inside. No matter how much you try to clean them. So, with that, I'm just going to close it and say, the water, Yahweh Shem Shai, the water, Yahweh Shem Shai, and double honors to our elders up at GMS, and shalom to you, Akin, out there on the highways and byways pushing this truth and sincerity. All right, shalom.